Okay, I see everybody starting to come in, which is wonderful. So welcome everyone to the first of our cross-border conversations series. I'm so thrilled that we're able to present this and have such a really amazing panel of women to speak to us today. So the series is presented by the Women's Enterprise Organizations of Canada with support from the US Department of State. My name is Lindsay Stewart-Thor. I'm going to help moderate this panel, and I hope that it will be a very insightful and engaging conversation, and I'm sure that it will. I want to begin by first acknowledging that where WEOC's head office is on Treaty 1 territory, and that is on the original lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. And we acknowledge that we source our water from the Shoal Lake 40 First Nation. So a few housekeeping things just to begin. If everyone could keep themselves on mute, except for our panel, that would be great. You can have your camera on, camera off, that's really up to you. We are recording this session if you missed that little voice from Zoom that came in there. What we're going to do is have a really open discussion. So we're going to have everyone introduce themselves, have just some topics that we talk about, and in the middle of our hour, Catherine Beach from Export Development Canada is going to give us a little presentation with some Canadian context. And we're hoping to have about 10 minutes at the end for questions, and ask that you put those in the chat, and we'll be happy to facilitate getting them answered by our panel. So if we would like to get started, I'm going to ask all our presenters to introduce themselves. And we are going to start with Nancy Ellen.
Hello everyone, wherever you're calling from. If it's morning, good morning, afternoon, good afternoon. I am so honored and pleased to be part of this panel and this discussion. Thank you to WEOC for the invitation. I run a Women's Business Development Council, and we provide certification for women-owned businesses. So we help US-based women who are interested in accessing corporate and federal contracts to get certified. The certification proves that they own, operate, manage, and independently control 51% or more of their company. And I like to say that the fun begins after the certification process, which is just paperwork. Once the women are certified, we help them to access contracts by facilitating pitch competitions, matchmaker meetings, opportunity fairs, and the like. And so I'm really happy to share some information and some insight on how to present yourself best and build relationships with corporations and the federal government for contracting opportunities.
Thank you. And we're going to move on to Betty Hines.
Hello and good day. Women entrepreneurs and executives earning at least six figures join my Women Elevating Women Woo Crew when they desire a global business and brand. Through meaningful monthly mastermind session peer advisory groups, I elevate, enhance their empire. I do this through workshops and strategies that allow them to collaborate, connect, and build communities regardless of cultural differences. My name is Betty Hines, and I'm in the business of women elevation.
And next, thank you, Betty. I just love this title. Cami Mazard.
Thank you, and thanks to the Women's Enterprise Organizations of Canada for giving me the opportunity to speak today. And by way of background, my name is Camelia Mazard, or Cami, and I'll be speaking today under the perspective as the Caribbean American woman. And in that capacity, I'm also the current president of the Organization of Women in International Trade. And I am the founding member of a boutique law firm that we opened over 15 years ago called Doyle, Barlow and Mazard, as well as the minority investor in several hospitality establishments here in Washington, D.C. So I am actually fluent in French because I'm first generation Haitian American. So I'm very happy to connect with any Francophones that are here virtually today. In my day job, I'm a partner. I focus on international trade and a little bit of hospitality. And what that means is we basically assist US and foreign corporations and clients who who have any questions about customs or any of the major trade disputes ongoing, as probably a number of you know, related to import and export. So our practice sort of varies with things like motion pictures, which is always a hot topic between Canada and the United States. Steel, another big topic, refractories, natural casings. And of course, happy to talk about USMCA or CUSMA issues, which we know is a hot button for both of our countries.
Thank you. And Brooke Sinclair.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. Brooke Sinclair of Valorit. Valorit's the sustainable supply chain solution for the import-export industry. Essentially, we're making it easier for commercial retailers to shop, buy, and track goods, resale goods that are bought from another country. So very similar to the concept of Uber Eats, Drizzly, DoorDash. Commercial retailers from now on will be able to, be able to schedule out in advance shipments bought directly from manufacturers through our online platform. So it's a awesome experience to be here today, honor and a privilege. And so right now we're focusing on Black-owned products and, female-founded products, exporting them from America to Latin America. But hopefully this will be a great opportunity for us to sow some seeds and to begin thinking about Canada. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you to everyone who's coming into the participation section. So the first sort of topic that I was hoping to cover is supplier diversity, which is sort of the reason for this series. And I wanted to sort of throw out to the group, is it necessary? Is it necessary to have supplier diversity programs? Are they necessary for bringing women into the supply chain, to bringing women into the economy, to bringing women of color into the economy? Are they necessary? And how does that look sort of as we move forward into the future? I don't know who'd like to jump.
Yeah, I'll start by saying that yes, they are absolutely necessary. Unfortunately, still necessary, and will probably continue to be necessary for the near future at least. So supplier diversity programs have as a goal a couple of things. One is it allows corporations, or in the case of the US federal government, an opportunity to do business with people who represent the people they do business with, right? So in the case of what I do with women-owned companies, we promote the fact that 85% of the buying decisions in this country, probably throughout the world, are made by women. So we say to corporations, why not be able to say in your marketing materials that we support women-owned businesses, right? It's good business sense. Supplier diversity also leads to creativity and innovation, right? When you have a bunch of people who are all the same age, who all look alike, and who are generally mostly men making decisions for the rest of us, things don't go so well all the time, right? So supplier diversity programs were set in place to even the playing field and to provide opportunity and access. When they work, they really, really work well. It takes commitment on both the part of the corporation that is promoting the supplier diversity program, as well as the business owners who are opting into the opportunities. And I want to say that it also takes some vigilance from the consumer standpoint. We should, ask, what does your supply chain look like? And are you sourcing from the local communities? Are you sourcing from women? Are you sourcing from minorities or service disabled veterans? I think it's absolutely imperative. It's unfortunate that here we are approaching 2022 and we still need these programs, but they are needed and absolutely important.
I have some words and thoughts on that as well. I think they're important, especially now, since you see, when you look at the women of color in terms of startups and new business, overwhelmingly, women of color have been starting more businesses than non-minorities. But that being said, there still is some opportunity for them because the supplier diversity program does give them benefits such as access to information, access to resources and opportunities. But there's still a huge disparity in gross revenues between minorities and non-minority women. So that to me is an opportunity for the supplier diversity program. They talk a lot about access to capital, and what I would challenge, supplier diversity programs in making their offerings is to make an offering that speaks to the access to the capital. It's not that the people of color, Black women specifically, they talk about financial literacy. There can always be more, but it's a vernacular that we're not used to using. So it's not a common vernacular. So there are some opportunities there when the companies are offering the bids. There's other opportunities because you're still seeing that disparity. So it's great. It's unfortunate, and I like the idea that it's shifting as opposed to as a check mark that I have one, that they really desire to have that program to help people scale and brand.
So I'll piggyback on what Betty said. One of the big benefits is that you do get access not just to capital, but also practical training. They want to have you be a success story, right? So they'll sometimes give you opportunities for educational programs that will enhance your career growth. It will enhance your skills or teach you different things about, sort of tricks to exporting, getting a container versus carrying something, through your luggage or, small cargo, things like that. So there's opportunities for professional development. And then it also, in some cases, helps women sell to each other as well as just to major corporations.
Yeah, I'll throw it in. My 2 cents is that consumers are bored. Consumers are bored of putting money into the same old pockets of the traditional, whoever you may see as traditional, people are bored of that. Who point blank. So, it's to the fact that people want to know the transparent supply chain capabilities. Did this come from a Black owned or minority owned? People honestly do care about that. They are bored of seeing the same old white dudes go surfing and have zero accountability. Not that there's anything wrong, I'm not poking fun, I'm so sorry to say that, but for us having the people of WeWork and Theros, those, and Quibi, who are all huge, who amassed huge amounts of dollars of capital, and then they really didn't come to fruition with it. So us as consumers, Black people as consumers, minorities, we are realizing the strength of our dollar here, and we're using that strength to verbalize what we want to see more of. And the truth of the matter is, we do want to see local products. We want to see more people of diverse backgrounds. We want to see creative, out of the wall, out of the box thinkers in both direct to consumer and in our commerce retail space.
I'd say just one more thing that I would like to see, again, as a challenge for the supplier diversity program, is to do more strategic introductions. For the women of color, what is being offered right now is great. And I did see the latest report that came out by the CEO of the supplier diversity, where they spoke of more companies are coming on board and offering a program. There's different levels and degrees, and they're evaluating and doing assessment. I think that's positive, because if it's not measured, then it's not going to take place. But I would also like for them to do some strategic introductions, because for the women of color, like I work with women who have revenues from 6 figures to 14 million. And what inevitably happens in the peer advisory groups, the conversations that take place, is that the ones who are moving forward and progressing quickly. Not only has some of the other programs, they have the certifications, the 8A programs, et cetera, but they get those strategic introductions. And those are very valuable. And those are things that I'm trying to advocate and encourage the women to do for each other. More of that's why I have Women Elevating Women. If you have a relationship with someone and you know someone else could benefit from that, make those strategic introductions. And as women, that's what we need to do more of.
And I find too that if you are buying from either a local or woman or BIPOC owned business, well, then you don't have a supply chain problem, right? Because you're buying local. And so most of the supply chain issues, occur because people are importing, to the US and Canada from China. But if you're buying locally, then you skirt that issue.
And just the last thing, and I'll be quiet. They have to, I'm always telling my group of women, you have got to reach outside your zip code, outside your county, outside your state, go global. And that's why I make sure that we have relationships over in Dubai. We have them in Nigeria, because that's how you're going to learn and grow, by diversifying, not just the supplier diversity, but understanding the different cultures so you can do business in those other countries.
I would like to just jump in with something that you had said, Betty, about the common vernacular, which I think is a really interesting conversation, especially when we're looking across borders, but even within different cultural communities, different regions of your own country. And I know that we have a lot of people attending today who work directly with women entrepreneurs. And I wonder, what are some ways of tackling that idea of helping the entrepreneurs that you work with to understand what this is really saying, to understand what the opportunities are, to understand what that vernacular means, or how you can work together to move forward, maybe through a supplier diversity program that you're not super comfortable with what the language is asking you.
Well, fortunately for me, I have a great relationship with the person in our region. Outstanding. And we always have her come in and do a presentation, as I do with the WeBank organization. And I also started bringing in people who work with angel investors, venture capitalists, crowdfunding. That is that's not a comfort zone for a lot of women entrepreneurs, and we need to change that narrative where they are becoming more comfortable so they can expand. They can do more of the importing, exporting. But if they don't understand how to raise the capital or to use other people's money, instead of borrowing from family and friends, that can be a huge barrier for them. So there's a tendency to stay in their comfort zone. We have to put them on the forefront more. We have to invite other people in and have them show some patience and tolerance when they're having those discussions. But you continue to put them in front, continue to invite those people. And it's not something that's going to happen overnight. I mean, some people, particularly, people that are in venture capital, that's a language, and bankers, they use it daily, just, for those in sports. I mean, unless you were raised around sports, you have absolutely no idea what they're speaking of. So you have to bring them in, have sessions. And also what happens is that the women, as intelligent as they are, they start feeling uncomfortable and even engaging and asking the questions because they don't know how to ask the questions. So it's incumbent upon those who are teaching to be able to anticipate the questions that might be asked and ask it for them.
Yeah, the really good news, ladies, is that because of technology and this day and age, it's really easy to learn that vernacular, right? We tell our members all the time, if you want to do business with XYZ Corporation, the first thing you should do is know everything on their website. Go to their website, and they might be calling you a vendor and somebody else calls you a supplier. So you want to know, are you to them a vendor or are you a supplier? And when you're introducing yourself, use the right word. Also, there's a lot of information in a corporation's annual report. And everyone has access to corporate annual reports. You can sign up to be part of their media, on their media list. You don't actually have to be a journalist to be on somebody's media list. You just sign up, give them your email, and they will send you their annual report. That tells you what is important to them and how they're faring in meeting the goals that they have set for that year, for the next 5 years. So I say you really want to do the research. Betty is absolutely right. We tend to be way more intimidated than we need to be, you know, and unfortunately the statistics are that if a man and a woman are offered a promotion or an opportunity, the man will jump in if he is 60% sure he can do it. We women, we have to check off 90% of all of the boxes before we think we're qualified to do something. So we really need to take a page from their book and say, I'm intelligent, I'm flexible, I'm ingenious, I'm innovative. I can step in and take advantage of this opportunity, right? People do business with people they know, they like, and they trust. And there are very easy ways to get people to know you, to like you, and to trust you. One of the first things is to speak the same language. So do your research and learn the terms of your industry, right? Each industry has different terms. Know who you're speaking to. Are you speaking to a procurement officer? They're the ones who actually write the checks and sign the contracts. Or are you speaking to the supplier diversity manager? That person is your champion in the corporation, right? So the way you speak to the supplier diversity manager is going to be different than the way you speak to the procurement officer. So do your research and be bold.
If I can jump on the bandwagon of speaking, understanding the lingo within the industry. So being in supply chain, I've spent a lot of time in warehouses with truckers and forklift people. They are brash and curse all the time. I'm not going to curse here, but upon knowing the lingo, also don't be afraid should you encounter somebody who actually is confident. Stereotypically, there are a lot of Black women who are capable, brilliant, functional, and articulate, and they may come in knowing exactly what they need to do, how they need to do it, and why they are there. And that does not make them aggressive. It does not make them threatening or intimidating. It just means that they are there to do business, and they're going to get that business done by any means necessary. So again, we're going into a new age of a new type of business owners. So when interacting with out of your comfort zone, remember that these are dynamic human beings. They are not just one way. They're as equally as dynamic as you are. So sometimes they are confident and they do know exactly what they've come there to do and to accomplish. And do not be scared by that. Do not be off-put or be threatened by that, and embrace it and enjoy it.
I love that. I think that I could talk all day about women selling themselves short, or the expectation that a woman's going to come in and sell herself short. Another thing that came up, I can't remember who said it, was talking about creativity and innovation. So at WEOC, we did a survey over this last year through COVID, talking to entrepreneurs about their experience, and it was sort of in the early stages and into the sort of early part of 2021 as COVID. And what we really got out of it was a lot of optimism from entrepreneurs, which was maybe not what I certainly expected to see, but also the intense amount of innovation and creativity that women entrepreneurs are able to draw upon when, push comes to shove, and the opportunity that's there if organization or companies will see that innovation and creativity. And how do entrepreneurs, and in this case, maybe the women who are working with them, encourage them to show that innovation and creativity in terms of going after a contract or going after maybe a new market and making inroads?
Yeah, so I have a personal motto that is connections, creativity, and courage in all endeavors. And we talk about creativity all the time. And we talk about the fact, we remind our business owners, our members, that you are an extremely creative person for having thought of this business and keeping it going and employing people and giving back to your community. All that takes creativity and innovation, right? And through the pandemic, most people were able to pivot. Most people were able to look to see, okay, what else can I offer based on the relationships that I already have established? One of the great benefits of being a small business is that when you present your product or service to a corporation, you can stand in confidence that you're the innovator, you're the point person, you're the final decision maker. And so you can position yourself to a large corporation as, there's not going to be 10 layers of decisions that have to be made when you have me as a contractor. I'm the one who's going to be making that decision, that the final decisions, right? So setting yourself apart creatively and as an innovator. You all have probably heard the term industry disruptors, right? And that's how you set yourself apart, is by being an industry disruptor. By being small and flexible, you have the know-how, the wherewithal, the ability to really be a disruptor in your industry. And that's what's going to set you apart. I always like to remind our members that you can go after second tier opportunities. So for those of you who don't know what a second tier opportunity is, it's a subcontract, right? So let's say that a corporation hires they call them the prime contractor. That's the person who's getting the contract. But if they have a supplier diversity program in place and that prime contractor is not a diverse company, they put into the contract obligations that you have a supplier diversity program, that you in your supply chain have diverse suppliers. So we encourage our women-owned businesses to approach corporations, approach the supplier diversity managers and the procurement officers at corporations and say, I'm interested in second tier opportunities. I can provide XYZ to the prime. That's a really great way to get your foot in the door, ladies. And once you get your foot in the door, then you can prove who you are and what you can do. So take advantage of that. And always remember that, you can be small and very mighty. We have women business owners who are solopreneurs who have, a group of contractors who work for them that are in the millions of dollars in revenue. So don't let the fact that you're small keep you small.
I think that's a very important point. And I wish we could take people like Nancy, I have my own in my own territory, take them around to meet with these women groups, because she shared, fortunately, I knew a lot of the terminology and what you were speaking of, but there's a lot of women out there who don't know. And that's why I always encourage women to join organizations such as what you're speaking of, Nancy, so they can get routine information. But I'm no longer surprised at the ability of women to be innovative. And we've talked earlier about Barb Moat, of her organization, Grow Your Biz. She was in Maryland doing a presentation right in the midst of the COVID. The pandemic was announced and everything was shut down. But with my group of women that I have, they all had to shift and pivot. And I'm going to brag a little bit. It's not uncommon for us as women to multitask. We know how to do that and we do it well. So, but what was interesting, it was brought to the forefront when I'm having meetings, we're still having our Zoom meetings, we're being careful, social distancing, where you see one of the women, she has kids and she's in the meeting and we're trying to help her, shift her business and what can she do differently. And then she turns around, she's yelling at the kids, get off the couch. and then she's back, and then she's, we know when she's getting ready to go prepare dinner, but we got it done. And what is important, organizations such as Nancy and other groups here, is that's when we rally the forces together. We bring it together in group, and that's why I'm a huge advocate of a peer advisory group, some other groups, just so you can bounce those ideas off somebody else. Say, hey, what do you think about this? Or have an accountability partner, because all the things that you're sharing are great and wonderful, and everybody might not know that, but it's information that someone else could share with you that you might not have thought of, because we are busy multitasking. But I think absolutely, we know as women how to be innovative, creative, and we produce.
So I'm going to pause us there to have a quick presentation from Catherine Beach from Export Development Canada. I keep messing up the name of my own country. And then we're going to move on to some networking and mentorship, which I think really piggybacks on what we've just talked about. So Catherine, I think you're ready for a presentation. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely, Lindsay, and you did a perfect job, so no worries there. Okay, so I'm gonna get started just in one moment. Setting myself up here. Okay, so hi everyone. I'm really excited to be here today for a short but brief presentation just around how Export Development Canada here in Canada supports more Canadian companies to start exporting. It's been really great listening to the panel so far and to be surrounded by such incredible women. I lead the Women in Trade strategy within the Inclusive Trade team at EDC, and I'm also speaking with you today from Ottawa on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people, who I thank for sharing this land with. So I'm going to provide a really brief introduction to EDC. So for those who are not familiar, we are Canada's export credit agency, and we're 100% owned by the Government of Canada. And we really position ourselves out in the market as Canada's international risk expert. So what we do is we leverage our deep knowledge of international trade and global buyers to enable us to take on and mitigate significant levels of risk so that we can help Canadian companies grow their business. We have coast-to-coast presence across Canada, meaning that depending on where a company is located, we're able to match them with a regional account manager so that they can work together and assess their business needs. We also have offices across the world in over 20 regions, including 2 in the US markets in Chicago and Atlanta. So there's a lot of misconceptions about exporting and also about EDC. The main one is really that it's only for large companies or those making and shipping products overseas, right? But in fact, we know that all companies of all sizes and in all sectors can export, and we've definitely seen an increase of this during the pandemic. EDC also supports service-based exports and companies that sell into global supply chains. I wanted to talk a little bit today about our approach to inclusive trade. So at EDC, we know that the numbers of diverse entrepreneurs are growing and can have an enormous benefit to our economy and our community. And our goal is to really support them to grow and scale globally. We're committed to engaging and supporting underrepresented entrepreneurs in specific areas, including women, Indigenous, and Black-owned and led businesses. We're also looking to expand our focus and understand better other unique, diverse groups, such as other racialized Canadians, those owned and led by members of the LGBTQ2+ community, and those persons with disabilities. I want to introduce the team here at EDC for the Inclusive Trade team. So earlier this year, we actually reorganized. What we did was we brought together the Women in Trade strategy with Indigenous business strategy to really take a more holistic approach and to leverage our synergies. We've also expanded and hired an additional lead for the Black exporter strategy who joined earlier this year. So for the Black exporter strategy, we're really focusing right now on gathering information, doing research and consultations to better understand those unique needs, exploring new partnerships with other Black business serving organizations, and focusing on internal training and awareness. Our approach at ensuring inclusive trade is grounded into everything we do. It has 5 pillars. So the first pillar is all about inspiring and building awareness of diverse entrepreneurs about taking their business globally. A lot of times companies don't even realize they're an exporter, so we help get them to identify themselves with that terminology. We also look to educate by providing the knowledge and skills so that they can export with confidence. We provide connections both to the ecosystem of organizations within Canada, but also to opportunities global. And we enable them with our knowledge and financial tools, which I'll outline shortly. Lastly, we look to empower with our corporate support for equity, diversity, and inclusion, and more economic empowerment more broadly. So before wrapping up, I just wanted to speak briefly about the financial knowledge solutions that are available within EDC. So really, depending on where a company is at in their exporting journey, which could be planning to export, a new exporter, or already exporting, but with desires to deepen those relationships or take on new markets, EDC can support with different resources. So at the beginning, companies are often looking for market knowledge or guides or have questions about how to get started, and that's where we leverage our knowledge and advisory services. One of the first financial tools we speak to companies about when they start to sell outside of Canada is credit insurance, and that protects the company's profits and balance sheets and insures against the risk of non-payments. And lastly, as companies start to grow and take on more contracts internationally, they require access to additional working capital. They need this so that they can ensure that they can react to new opportunities, they can respond quickly, and they can invest in their business to continue to grow. So EDC works directly with companies' financial institutions to be able to support them through various guarantee programs. As part of our inclusive trade strategy, EDC launched a $200 million inclusive trade investment program. So we know that for Canadian business owners led by people of diverse dimensions of diversity, one of the main barriers to growth is lack of equitable access to capital. I think that came up earlier in the conversation. So this program really helps to address that challenge and create more opportunities for growth. And companies need to have a commercial revenue growth that is accelerating towards 1 million in sales with significant export growth potential. So I know I covered a lot today very quickly. There's a lot of different resources available from EDC to either support companies directly or advisors who are helping Canadian companies grow and succeed. I'm sure Lindsay will be sharing this deck, and there's lots of different links in here. And lastly, I just wanted to mention my contact information is here, and I can also drop my LinkedIn profile in the chat if anyone had more questions or wanted to follow up. Thank you, Lindsay. Hopefully I didn't take too much time.
No, I think I probably asked you to do that in record time, actually.
Yeah, it may be a new record.
So that was really great. And I do think that we could have an entire session dedicated to women and access to capital. And I am confident that this entire panel and all of our people who are participating would agree that women entrepreneurs need access to capital. I think that's probably an across the board. So it's wonderful to talk about it a bit, but I do know that we could spend an entire hour minimum just on that, I'm sure. So but thank you, Catherine. That was great. And I thank you for getting it done in record time. As Catherine mentioned, we are recording this session. Everyone who registered today will be getting a document that kind of talks about the main points that were talked about, highlights some things in the videos, and includes all of the resources. And we're going to provide that in English, French, and Spanish for everybody in the coming weeks. So you'll be getting that from us. So to have for the second half of our conversation, this has definitely been a topic that has come out already and came out in Catherine's presentation as well. And it's certainly been in every article and every study and every report that I have read in 2020 and 2021 in the pandemic. And as we sort of move, whatever post-pandemic means, I'm not sure when we will ever get to say that term, but here we are. And we're all spread across North America, and we're all living in a very different reality at the moment, which is interesting to acknowledge as well. But anyway, I really wanted to talk about for women trying to make inroads in other countries or maybe into other regions. How important is network building? How do you go about, what are some of the strategies of building that network? Specifically for women of color, is that, how do we encourage people? It sounds so easy, build your network, but it is extremely hard even locally to build your network and never mind across a border. So I'd love to just hear the panel, some thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'll jump right in. So actually, as Nancy mentioned earlier, because we're all online now, it has never been easier to expand your network. So luckily, wonderful events like this. Personally, I'm a big fan of the National Black Chambers of Commerce. So if you're here, or excuse me, if you're looking for founders of color, I highly recommend the National Black Chambers of Commerce. They have a really unique online space that that has been provided by the people I can't remember right now, but LinkedIn is kind of a good way. Twitter is great for connecting, and really beefing up those connections in between your LinkedIn, or excuse me, your LinkedIn and your Twitter, to kind of jump and introduce yourself to your prospects, whoever you may be looking for.
There is a really highly regarded international organization called We Connect International. It's WE, standing for Women Entrepreneurs Connect International. They offer certification for women-owned businesses and lots of access and opportunity, including programs and events all over the world. So I really encourage you to get involved with them. You can self-register as a woman-owned business, or you can ask to be considered for certification. In any case, you can join them and their programming, and it's an incredible network. And the thing to remember too, ladies, is that corporations love strategic alliances, and they would rather work with one vendor who manages the strategic alliance than with 10 small businesses, right? So as you network, as you grow your expertise, your experience, your renown in an industry, consider creating strategic alliances. And as Brooke said, it's a lot easier than you think. Join industry groups. I always recommend as well that you join the groups that your target market is involved with, right? So if you want to go into healthcare, provide services for healthcare, and your target is Pfizer or Amgen or Johnson & Johnson, then join the groups that they're joining. And LinkedIn is the easiest way to do that, right? You just join the groups that they're joining and comment. The more you comment, the more you get noticed. And as you're sharing information, you begin to build the right relationships, because they're always tagging the people who they want to know what they're doing, right? So you can then connect with those people as well.
So I'll jump in. Go ahead, Betty.
Go ahead. No. You first, Cami.
I was just going to say, at OWIT International, we have an official partnership with We Connect. I happen to have gone to grad school with Liz. So we were your rival, Nancy. We went to the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy, and she was always talking about We Connect way back then. So I've seen the formation of it. It's a great organization, and I'll hand it off to Betty.
I think that's an excellent idea about, there's several women organizations out there. I would encourage you, if you just Google women groups, you will find them, groups out there. One of the things in my group with Women Elevating Women Woo Crew is that I have 5 pillars of success. One of them is connect. We talk about connect, communicate, and collaborate. And I feel that when you want to do the networking, it is important. I see it as a branding when you're doing your networking. So my piece of advice to women, when you want to start that networking, make sure your house is in order. I tell women all the time, branding yourself is important when you're connecting. For example, I see some women, and I'm not trying to have any disparaging comments on these platforms, but they have like a Gmail or an AOL or free platforms. If you want to connect, it's important. Go spend a couple of nickels. Go ahead and get you a site with your name on it. Mine is Betty at Betty Hines, but you can get whatever. But that's the first step in terms of your connecting. Because when you're networking, your verbal business card is who you are and how you define your business. So I just want to share that in terms of when you do your networking, but also do your homework in terms of the groups. There's a lot of groups out there. I belong to several of the organizations, Women Presidents Organization, the Minority Supplier. I belong to the one that's in my region, in the Minority Supply Diversity Council, but there's a lot of groups. There's NABO, there's a lot of women groups. You need to do the assessment of the group, and there's mine too, group. But you need to do an assessment on what is a good fit for you. Who are they partnering with? Who are they building business with? Because not all, what do they say? Not all sizes fit. So you need to take a look at the group and see if some are invitations, like WPO is an invitation. You have to have $1 million threshold revenue base. But there's a lot of groups out there, and definitely follow those groups. You can sign up and follow, get their newsletters, but make a match that's good for you and the industry. So don't just be joining to join, because you can spend a lot of money doing that.
And as we say in DC, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So networking is important. And that applies, I find, across a lot of cities, whether it's Los Angeles, if you want to break to the entertainment business, it's not what you know, everybody has the skills, it's who you know. And that applies to women entrepreneurship.
And that all goes back to what I tell my group about the strategic introductions and the strategic business connection. You don't want to necessarily connect with everybody, as they say, lottie body and everybody. You need to be strategic in who you're going to align yourself and who you're going to hitch up with. So take a look at it all.
So moving from there to sort of a related topic of mentorship, which I think for women is so important to see yourself in someone who you have you're related to in your business, or you aspiration, or even someone who just is I like their style of doing something. I would love if you all could give us a sense of how mentorships come into your career and how that has worked for you. Brooke, do you have anything to say?
I'm so excited, just like, oh, I'm gonna talk about it.
I saw you getting excited, so I thought I would go to you first.
My mentor right now, and keep in mind, for me, mentor is a grasshopper. You can't, the idea is you're supposed to grow, and you should outgrow your mentor depending upon what they're doing. Just like Mr. Miyagi and Karate Kid, Daniel-san is supposed to outshine Mr. Miyagi. So right now, my mentor is the very fabulous, glorious Shelley Omaladi Bell, and I'm actually going to put her.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. She's excellent.
Of Black Girl Ventures,
Mm-hmm.
and she has, when I met her, she had a purple mohawk, and I've always felt as though I had a purple mohawk inside. And so she is awesome, and I highly suggest Black Girl Ventures and Shelley as potential role models of who your founders of color should strive to be like. Black Girl Ventures was started in Shelley's living room with a cup of marbles, and now she has deals with Nike. She has an unlimited shoe they just made that was like raffled off with the WNBA. Just awesome, fantasticness rolled up into a person.
I'd like to add that the important thing to remember when you're asking someone to mentor you is, what are you giving? What are you bringing to the relationship, right? It's not only a one-way top-down relationship. It can be a really great relationship when it's a symbiotic relationship, right? Also know the difference between a mentor and a sponsor. And don't forget that we all need sponsors. The sponsors are the people who talk about you when you're not in the room, right? The people who are going to put your name forward to speak on a panel, the people who are going to put your name forward for a possible new position or, thought leadership. So yes, it's great to have a mentor. Remember, when you ask someone, tell them why you would love for them to be your mentor and what you're going to bring to the table. But also look for key sponsors, because what's going on in the room when you're not there can really affect your business. And if you have a sponsor who keeps you top of mind, that can make all the difference in your business and professional development.
Yeah, I'd like to add, I agree 1,000% in doing the difference. My background, for those who haven't been on LinkedIn, I come out of corporate America. I did have the C-suite executive, and then I became an entrepreneur, and now I am a business strategist for women entrepreneurs and executives. But I take a look at, when you talk about the mentorship program, the stages of mentorship, and they all have different labels. So I look at it a pyramid, where you're being strategic, you're being tactical, and then you have task. When you're at that task, when you're in a startup phase, you look for your mentors, because those are the ones who are going to give you guidance. You're looking for your knowledge. And so then you're going to graduate from there. You're going to be looking for something that is more tactical. And that is what I call, you're going to be looking for that advocate. You're looking for that person to make those kind of introductions for you. They encourage you, they help facilitate your support. So it's nice to have, when you're at that tactical stage in your business, an ally. Then, of course, the ultimate, when you get to become the strategic, when you're the CEO running your own thing, then you have those sponsors. And absolutely, you want someone who's going to say your name, say positive things about you when you're not even in the room or when your back is turned. So but there's different stages. Understand? I mean, there's stages as you, as a business owner, in your growth. So you might just be going to the sponsor, but the sponsor is going to be putting their reputation on the line. So make sure you're ready for that. And when you make that ask. So again, there's different stages that you need to take a look at. Again, the mentor, the advocate, the sponsor, and when you're ready to muscle up or woman up.
And I'll just wrap up by saying I like to always remember that mentorship is a two-way street. So the same way we have mentors, it's always important for us as BIPOC women to turn around and mentor those behind us, because the mentor-mentee relationship goes a long way. And to this day, you know, I still speak to my mentors from 20 years ago, and I hope that my current mentees speak to me 20 years from now.
And we have a saying in Woo, with the Woo crew, is that you lift as you climb. And so that is the expectation of when you want to be mentored. Don't forget to lift others as you climb, as you elevate.
Well, I love that sentiment, and I think it's just, it crosses all, it's not just entrepreneurs, it's not just women in business, it's women in every part of their life. I think that we can look for that, and certainly the build as you climb is a great thing to be thinking about in all aspects of your life. So thank you for that. That's going to stay with me in my non-entrepreneur business life. So we are at 12:54, or wherever you are, you can relate that to whatever time zone you're in. I'm at 12:54, and I wonder if we have any questions from the group, from the chat. If any have come in. We have a lot of really great comments, and thank you all of you for our presenters for adding things as we've gone. I also want to say, Brooke, like, getting Mr. Miyagi into this conversation is really important to me. So finally, the greatest mentor of all time. Waiting for it. Okay, so we have a question here. What can a person bring to a mentor? We're starting out, so what can we highlight?
I'm going to say something that people have heard before, and it might sound cliche, but it's to bring your authentic self. So if you want a mentor, you know, be who you are. I mean, open kimono, open, just be honest with your heart in terms of what your needs are, and do your own self SWOT analysis before you come to your mentor. Know what your strengths, weaknesses, the opportunities and threats are for you. And if you come to them with something like that, then you can sit down and have an authentic conversation.
Yeah, and I can say the same thing, like bring your vulnerabilities, For me, I was, a young trade lawyer back in 2000, and I had just left the Gore campaign. So after the election, I was distraught, wondering how can I make it as a trade lawyer in DC? And somebody invited me to a Women in International Networking event, right? That's the DC chapter of OWIT. I grew, became different positions with the organization, was, president of that chapter 10 years ago. And now, president of the OWIT International, which is the parent company to all of our chapters. So somebody saw something in me, and I hope to see something in others someday.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I think also, don't underestimate your own experience compared to a mentor's experience, right? Don't underestimate your own knowledge of a particular industry or product, or, and your creativity. And that's something you can bring to a mentor. You can bring the fact that you are a recent graduate and technology really, really well, or social media really well, and perhaps the mentor is lacking in that a little bit, but they've got all this other stuff that you can learn from them. So don't undersell yourself. And as I said, it should be really a relationship of give and take and of mutual respect. I always suggest to people as they're looking for mentors to state the obvious. I am looking for a mentor because I need blah, blah, blah. And you are the best at blah, 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 right? And I will take this relationship very seriously. I'm committed. If you can give me an hour a month, I will be there. I will do everything you tell me to do and more. I'm committed to learning from you. That goes a very long way to establishing a relationship, as opposed to just calling somebody out of the blue. Oh, I heard you're a really good mentor and I need a mentor. Could you mentor me? Well, yeah, I'm not going to, I don't think I'm going to take you on because it's a commitment, right? A good mentor commits time and effort and energy, and they want to know that the other person is taking all of that seriously.
Are there any other questions from the group? Lots of feedback. That was a wow, thanks. Everyone can see that, so that was a great answer. Formidable, what an amazing word. So I think formidable woman is a great t-shirt that I would like to have. If there's no other questions coming in, we are at our hour and it really zoomed by. So that was wonderful. I could talk to this group for much longer time, and there's much more I'm sure we could dig into. But I thank you all for your time. I really appreciate it. I could not be more honored to have this group of women on this panel today. And I know that everyone in attendance and everyone who will view the recording is going to get a lot from it. So thank you all for coming. And you will definitely be receiving, everyone, some more information from us, but also a recording of this session in the coming weeks. Thank you so much.
Having me.
Thank you, everyone.
Should I go